Hello and welcome to the Let's Get Real podcast. My name's Ned.
And Lisa.
Thank you for joining us again. If you're a returning viewer or if this is your first time, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Today's topic is about the shift that's been occurring. A few days ago, I put a post on my Facebook and I was asking people if they felt like they've had a shift, and I asked people if they felt out of sorts with friendships and out of sorts with daily routines, loss of motivation, and the results were pretty standard across the board, that a lot of people were feeling that way. And this is something that Lisa and I have been noticing, and I've been aware of this for quite a while. I think the catalyst for the shift that has occurred has definitely been the time that we spent through the pandemic, when when the whole world kind of stopped and we just took a little bit of time to inward. I think it had such a major impact on consciousness in general. So what do you see that's happened in this shift, or like what have you been experiencing?
I've been experiencing, it seems like everything's sped up, but also a lot of issues, the deeper issues that maybe hadn't fully surfaced in my life are surfacing to be healed.
Okay.
Like intense, deep stuff, even the stuff that I didn't think that, or I thought that I was done with. It's been great, but intense. Just for anyone that watched last week, the episode number 3 that I did on addiction, that would be one of the things, just an example. But life-changing shift.
And that's what I've been really seeing in people. I know I went through a period where I just didn't have any motivation. I didn't really want to do anything. I couldn't really see anything in front of me, and all the things I had been doing sort of felt out of sync with. And I think that's been another one of the consensus topics, is that it's like we have an old life,
I was just going to say that.
And now we have a new life. And the old life doesn't seem to fit or work.
Yeah.
But the new life, we don't know how to get with it yet.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people, including myself, are finding themselves, me not so much now, but before we found ourselves just sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Yeah.
and feeling out of sorts with everything that we used to love.
And hearing about everyone else that was too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely an adaptation period I've noticed with, I don't know, probably every month I feel it's different.
Another thing that I've noticed is that certain friendships have, fallen away in this time. And I've spoke with a handful of people that have really felt out of sorts because the friend group they once had just doesn't feel right anymore, or a certain family member, they just don't want to be around them anymore. They can't tolerate this what used to be just normal and acceptable. They just can't tolerate it anymore. And I think this is part of the shift that's going on.
Yeah, I feel like that because there's a global consciousness shift, the vibration is higher, things are becoming lighter, which is wonderful. But that's also, it's lightening our lives, right? Heavy relationships that we just refuse to let go of. It's sort of this whole shift has given us permission to do so. It doesn't mean it's comfortable.
And when we sort of let go of somebody that's been in our lives for a long time, it's a loss. It's something to grieve, and of course it's not going to feel comfortable. But I think this shift that's happened and still happening, we just can't not do it. We can not pull ourselves away.
For those that sort of get left behind and have a lot of resistance, I think it's going to be more painful. It's going to be more painful until they move on,
So my idea, what I think that caused or created this shift to happen, and what's happening now is that, obviously there was the lockdown and the slowing down is the cause. And then what's happening now is that our consciousness has gone from here to here. So we've had a change in consciousness. And I talked about this in my book, Awakened, The Reality of What Is. So what is comfortable and acceptable in one state of consciousness, when we move into a different state of consciousness, it's no longer comfortable or acceptable. And I think it's important that we sort of honor the new place that we're moved into. And to honor that, you know, I think that it's time to be more creative, reaching into our creative side. And when I say that, I don't mean about, you know, starting to become a musician or an artist. When I'm talking about it's a time to be creative. The creative aspect that I'm talking about is that inner nudge, that inner knowing, that voice that's in the silence in you, or that just that knowing in your heart and mind that I've always wanted to do this, or I've always wanted to do that. And I think now's the time to get creative and move into doing new things, even if you feel a little uncomfortable at first. You know, I've been doing this. I write nonfiction books. All the books that I've written so far have been nonfiction, and I had this nudge to write a fiction book, and I'm like, my mind is saying, no, I don't do that. That's not my thing.
Your mind, exactly.
That's exactly it. But I just listened to it, and I followed it, and what happened was that this is probably one of the most creative projects I've ever done, aside from, you know, illustrating all the oracle cards and writing that book. But this has been one of guaranteed the most funnest project I've ever done. And it's just been such an inspiring time for me. But that was me following the creativity that was naturally arising in me. And we all have creativity that's arising inside of us. And that creativity is the nudge. Go do this, go try that.
We talked about this earlier today, actually, that even just you saying yes to that, stepping into your creativity, and thereby raising your vibration, it wakes other people up around you, right? It has an effect on other people around you. They're inspired, and your shift helps other people shift.
100%. So by me following these creative nudges, it brings up all this energy in me, and in turn, that sort of swells out into everything and everyone around me. And that's how I see us really getting over the hump of this shift, is that people move into a creative life versus a repetitive one.
Oh, that's good.
You know, instead of just repeating yesterday. And at this point, I think a lot of people can't. They just can't do it. They can't repeat yesterday one more time. So they'd rather just sit on the couch and Netflix. And so
that's not me, but
that's not her.
That's a lot of people.
I have to keep a net to keep Nellie around.
Yeah,
just like a
fairy,
a butterfly. So you were talking earlier about what you thought is a solution to move through this shift, and what are your thoughts on that?
Again, it's internal. It's not looking externally. So it's listening to your heart, and that sounds so cliche, but anything that's heart centered. So whether, especially in business, actually, that's because things are changing, structures are changing, businesses are changing, conscious business. Whenever you align with your heart, it's expansive and it has a different trajectory, right? And anything that feels contracted is not the direction you want to go. And things that used to feel expansive might now feel contracting. And we need to listen to that, because that is guidance. It's trying to show us.
In heart-centered, living a heart-centered life, I think it's about, you know, taking that second to just ask yourself, is this what do I feel good about this? You know, even right in the middle of an interaction, say you and I are talking,
Yeah.
and I notice that, okay, suddenly I'm holding a position or I'm barking at you. A heart-centered transaction is like for me to just pull back for a second and feel the space between us.
Connection.
Making
Yep.
connection.
Very
100%.
important. That's a new way of being too, that of course we all know what that is, but it's a new way of being present with everything, people and everything you do. That is, in my opinion, is still based in the heart, right? Or it very much is.
And again, I see that as a means to work through the shift that, you know, may be feeling constrictive or uncomfortable. Start moving that, your focus, into heart-centered interactions with yourself, with others, with things that you may want to do. And if there's something you don't want to do, and you just instinctually know that, no, that's not for me anymore, being okay with the accepting, letting it go.
Yeah. Accepting wherever you're at that moment. I can't suggest to people enough to, if you're having issues, if you're spinning and spinning, being repetitive in your life and discontent, you're probably in your head. You're probably just in your head too much. Move it down, right?
That's right. Yeah. The day of living our lives strictly through our minds, you know, people are being forced out of that. If you're feeling this shift in you and you're feeling out of sorts and you're struggling with relationships that you once had, or you don't feel like you know which direction to head right now, I think what I've been practicing in the last while is just always listening. Just stop. If you don't know, just get quiet and ask yourself. And that answer might not come right away. It may come next week. You may wake up the next morning and just suddenly know. You could suddenly just walk into a store, and while walking into the store, you suddenly know, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or the solution to whatever you're seeking, it will come.
Sometimes when you're seeking that, doing things that would normally distract you, like getting off your phone and all these things that you put in the way of that because you're uncomfortable, you're unfamiliar with what you're feeling. Instead of filling it in with that, you could even pick up a pen and paper and write, and it will come out.
Yeah, like I just find that if I ask myself a question, or I say, what do I really want to do, and the answer doesn't come, I don't think the solution is found through taking 50 more revolutions around our mind. I think at a certain point, you know, we just need to stop asking the question and just be present.
Give it space, right?
Give it space.
Yeah, because in all your spinning in your head, waiting for that answer, like your head could be full of other people's opinions. That's common, right? So.
I hope everybody's enjoyed this episode. It's a topic that we felt like was fairly relevant to talk about. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Take care.
Take care.